What do you think is the most valuable asset we all own? Is it money? Our house? Maybe our car? What if I tell you that it's something far more precious that we often overlook? And once it's gone, there's no getting it back. It's our time. When we think about our money, we are very cautious. We plan, we budget, and carefully decide how we want to spend it. But why don't we do the same with our time? Because if we lose our money, we can always earn it back. But once we lose our time, it's gone forever. So we need to start budgeting and tracking our time the same way we do with our money, because how we spend our time can shape our entire lives. So how can we make the most of our time in 2024 and beyond? In this video, we're going to explore the mindset of consuming versus creating, and how can we switch to creating more and consuming less. In today's world, we are overloaded with information. Our phones, books, games, window shopping in malls, online shopping, you name it. With the technology revolution that we are living in, the sources of information have significantly increased. And what ends up happening for most of us is we often find ourselves consuming more content rather than creating some ourselves. This is called the 90-9-1 rule, which states that 90% of people on the internet are just lurkers, meaning they just passively consume content. Around 9% of them actually interacts with the content, and only 1% contributes and creates new content on the internet. Recent studies have shown that young people spend around 5.5 hours every day on social media. So now the question is, why do we consume so much? We humans are designed in a way that we're always looking for shortcuts. We try to look for answers to questions like, what makes our lives easier? What is the most convenient thing to do for us? Which way requires less effort on our part? We look for these shortcuts because we strive for instant gratification and those quick dopamine hits which makes us feel better. We don't prefer to wait for anything, we want everything right now. And this mindset has been training us to look for things to do which doesn't require much work. And this is the reason why we're always glued to the screens in our pockets and we mindlessly consume content. But the most important reason that we consume so much is not having anything exciting and interesting to do with our time. On a daily basis, we all struggle to find more time in our lives for things to do. I'm pretty sure you would have heard stories from your grandparents that the lives during their time were much simpler. They were less chaotic, less hectic, and much less stressful. It has all changed because we have so much more to consume now. Keeping up with what's happening around the world, finding out about the latest fashion trends, and learning about the newest piece of gadget that we can own. We all have this limited amount of time, but the things that need our attention have massively increased. Speaking of attention, there is an important concept called psychic energy, which the author Mihai Csikszentmihalyi shares in his book Flow. By the way, this is how you correctly pronounce his name, and I highly recommend everyone reading this book. I will be doing a book review in one of my later videos, so stay tuned. Mihai points out that everything that we do in our lives requires attention. From waking up in the morning, to getting breakfast, to getting ready for work, going to work, until we hit the bed at night, needs an investment of our attention. And attention, or our psychic energy, is limited. The struggle for attention is a real problem. For example, we carry our smartphones all the time, which are packed with notifications for emails, messages, news alerts, social media updates, all competing for our attention. And with all this information pouring in, it's very easy to feel overwhelmed. And the real issue is, how much of it can we actually process before it becomes too much? This is where we need to draw the line and try to avoid falling into this trap of consumption and start using our time to our advantage. Now, I'm not saying consuming content is a bad thing. Of course, we need to do it to stay up to date on what's happening around us. But we shouldn't just consume content just for the sake of it. Rather, we should intake information with a focus on self-development. We should look for content and information that can help us learn and acquire knowledge. Now, this type of consumption can take a lot of shapes, like books to read, blog articles, interesting YouTube videos to watch, just to name a few. If we start consuming content with this mindset, this not only helps us to nurture our skills and growth, but also help us to help others. How, you ask? By using the knowledge that we acquire to start creating and sharing our contributions with the world. If we are learning something new and not doing anything with that knowledge, then this is called passive learning. And in passive learning, it's really hard to retain the information for a long time, and it often gets forgotten after a few days. Now, in order to remember something for a long time, we need to be active learners, which means whatever we are learning, we need to start putting that into practice right away. Now, this is a problem that I've been facing for a long time. For example, if I read a book, after a few days, I would have forgotten everything about it. If I take an online course and learn about a new concept, and maybe a few days later, if you ask me to explain that concept to you, I would fail miserably in that. Now, I was able to solve this problem by start to create and share. If you have watched other videos on this channel, you probably know that I love the topic of creativity. I love researching about it and love reading articles about it, but what usually happens is after a few days, I completely blank out on what I learned. Even if I take good notes, it would take me a good amount of time to review my notes and remind myself of what I learned by reading all those articles. The solution that I came up with to help me retain this knowledge for a long time was to start a newsletter and start sharing my knowledge and the key learnings with everyone. I start by going through a bunch of research articles, and then I spend time writing and explaining the key insights and key learnings in my own words, and then sharing those learnings in an email newsletter. If you're interested in learning more about the topic of creativity and learning about insights that can help you maximize your creative potential, then consider signing up for my newsletter. I will share a link in the description below. Once you're able to switch to this learning and creating mindset, it's helpful to have a roadmap that can help us start working on meaningful activities and things during our free time. To do this, start by exploring your interests. Spend time trying to do new things. For instance, if you've never done anything artistic, try picking up a pencil and a sketchbook and take a stab at drawing. You might enjoy it, or maybe you won't, but you won't know until you try it out. I didn't know that I would enjoy making YouTube videos, but as soon as I picked up my iPhone and started filming, I was like, this is actually really fun to do, and I'm actually really enjoying the process of making videos. Give yourself an opportunity to experiment multiple things, and you would definitely find something that will catch your interest and spark that curiosity to learn more about it. Once you have figured out what you like and what you enjoy, start setting short-term goals for yourself. For instance, let's say you enjoy writing. Now, you don't need to write an entire 500-page novel, even though this is a great goal to have, but start small. Start by blocking out some time every single day and spend that time writing. It could be anything, maybe writing a blog article on a topic of interest, maybe writing in your journal, or even taking some notes while reading a book. Whatever it may be, just spend some time during every single day to do the things that you enjoy. Eminem, the world's legendary rapper, was known to always write in his notebooks. And 90% of his rhymes were not to be used in any of his songs, but he just writes to be engaged in the process of writing and to spend time to create something every single day. Finally, schedule some digital detox time. Now, what I did is an extreme where I deleted all the social media apps from my phone, and I intentionally made it harder for myself to consume content. Now, you don't need to go that extreme, but try to block out some window of time during your day during which you will allow yourself to check your social media feeds. Otherwise, you will just find yourself doom scrolling and mindlessly consuming content, which is not going to do any good to your overall lifestyle. Thank you all for being with me on this journey, and if you have made it till here, and if you can only take one thing out of this video, it should be to start being mindful about how you spend your time. Don't be the slave of these devices around you and try to avoid falling into this trap of content consumption. Instead, try to maximize your time by learning and acquiring knowledge, through which you can create and share your creations with the world. We are all here to make this world a better place. So let's start with your creation and contribution. Thanks for watching.